Thank you. Dr. Natchiappan.
इंडिया का लोगो विदेश में से क्यों मंगवाया? वो लोगो है ना मेक इन इंडिया का टाइगर का, वो विदेश में से क्यों लाया?
स्वदेशो भुवनम त्रयम, जहाँ मेरा हिंदुस्तान का काम होता है, मेरा स्वदेश वहाँ भी चला जाता है।
Please don't disturb. Please don't disturb.
I support this bill as it is very important for the globalized economy, and we were the original founders of the International Standard Organization, which was founded as early as 1946 in London. Immediately afterwards, India has become one of the party to that organization, and in 1947, January itself, we started this organization here, and in June 1947 itself, it started to work. And through the cabinet resolution, this was initially made as part of Indian system of standards in industrial and other products which are manufactured in India. Therefore, we have got every right to claim that we were within the Indian system of standards. And 1952, we could make it as a legislation, and it is followed by 1987 on the basis of the World Trade Organization, where there is a need for uniform legislation throughout the world. The ISO has come up to a standard of covering many of the issues which are throughout the world. They claim that there were 19,000 standards were now created in various respects, and about 162 countries are members of this organization. The topics in which they are covering it and giving issuing certificates are manifold. We can take it, for example, that they are giving it ISO 14,000 as environmental management, ISO 9,000, many of us know it, that quality management and other systems. Now the Indian law is now being amended or repealed by way of this Bureau of Indian Standards Bill 2015. It's a very welcome step, but as usual, we are having many of the ambiguities also here. In the initial stage of definition itself, we have clearly told that in class 2(1), article is defined as means any substance, artificial or natural, or partly artificial or partly natural, whether raw or partly or wholly processed or manufactured by handmade within India or imported into India. This is a very important part, because whatever manufactured or produced in India, whatever the system we are following it, is also being applied for the imported materials. Therefore, many of us now make in India is one of the slogans government of India is taking up. Therefore, many of the people want to have the manufacturing here. At the same time, we have got the legislation by which we are going to regulate them. The Indian Standards Institution, which is defined under this present bill, means the Indian Standards Institution registered under the Societies Registration Act 1860. Whether we are going to re-register already existing the Bureau of Indian Standard, which is already created by the Bureau of Indian Standard Act 1986, or we are going to comply with the same registered institution. There is an ambiguity in this particular thing. I hope the Minister will make note of it and it can be clarified. Similarly, the Indian standards are now widened in many of the aspects, and the Section 10 gives a certain level of the Indian standards. And here the overall institutional mechanism which is now created is having threefold systems. One is regularly it is certifying many of the manufactured goods or the standards which are made according to the Indian standards. Many of the food materials and other things are also included by expanding through the executive orders. When these are all made, we are giving this institution to continue the effort which they were doing it from 1947 onwards to have a standard certificate, ISI certificate being issued. And another aspect we are giving is regulatory authority. We are becoming, this institution becomes a regulatory authority, which is given in the definition clause 33. Regulations means regulations made by the Bureau under this Act. That is also giving a wide power to the, this institution. And thirdly, very important one is, it is giving accreditation to the other institutions also, which is defined in the chapter 3, section 10C. Recognize or accredit any institution in India or outside which is engaged in the standardization. This is a wide power. We are giving multiplicity of standardization institutes are going to come up. And also we are getting the power to give the license to them also. How we are going to regulate it? Are we having the infrastructure developed to that level? It is a modern system where you want to sit in before a desktop. Even now, there is no time for sitting before the desktop, but using the iPad or using the iPhone itself, smartphones, we want to have the communication with various organizations, especially this type of regulating authorities and also licensing authorities. In such a case, how we are going to make it? And another classification which is given in the class 9, one is that obtain membership in regional, international and foreign bodies having objects similar to that of the Bureau and participate in international standards setting process. That means we want to be a member of the elite group where India can stand itself, say that Indian standards are accepted throughout the world because we are following the international norms which are fixed up by various membership in various organizations. And also we are telling that how reciprocally we are going to accept other standards, which is told in 9B. Recognize on reciprocal basis or otherwise with prior approval of the central government the mark of any international body or institution on such terms and conditions as may be mutually agreed upon by the Bureau in relation to any goods, articles, process, system or service at par with the standard marks for such goods, articles, process, system or services. This is the widest aspect on which the ISO, already Indian International Standard Organization, is working to claim itself that they are having 19,000 standards throughout the world. Similarly, we are focusing that we are also going to be like that. Our standard is to be catch up with other countries, and we are going to reciprocally accept other standards. Are we going to come up with any conventional way of participation and accepting ourselves to the international standard? Or are we going to have the bilateral treaties? Or are we going to have the other conventional resolutions? On that basis, we are going to bind ourselves that this is the standard of Indian way of production and manufacturing and other, which is a newly defined area of operation as clearly given, any goods, articles, process, system or service at par with the standard mark for such goods and articles, process, system or services. Because what we are actually now having a poor level of infrastructure, that we have to note it down. Because many of the countries are now coming forward with Indian manufacturing system. They are investing huge money, and when I can just quote some companies which are waiting on the queue to get the standardization certificate. For example, if you take the industrial officials noted that the several globally launched product of brands such as Lenovo, Acer, Hewlett-Packard and Samsung are unlikely to hit the Indian market soon due to a delay in procuring the Bureau of Indian Standards certifications. How many numbers? It is numbering more than 8,000 different type of certifications are needed in different materials. We are not equipped to that level. That means we are going to apply this enactment by recognizing certain private standard institutions. Are we having a regularized mechanism by which we are going to recognize them? Are we going to have the same government control by which the governing body board will be under the chairmanship of the sitting minister concerned or the deputy or the minister of state as a deputy vice chairman of that particular organization, Bureau of Standards. These are all things have to be clearly marked, because when you want to open up the international standard, then they will be questioning us for each and every activity. For example, Lenora is one of the companies which is floated by the Chinese, and Chinese products are dumped like anything. When you apply the anti-dumping law, even for the for solar products, the Americans are having an order in the World Trade Organization's dispute resolution, and we have to appeal against that order. Therefore, we have to make the proper standard first. The infrastructure have to be developed within our own organization. If we can't invest so much of money for that, because everything for the electronic goods which I quoted, they are going to impose 5% more of the cost for every product. That means about 1,000 crores are going to be the more cost for their manufacturing. That means India is not a good market for them. They will just bring it in another doorway. ASEAN agreement we are having it, or Bangkok Thailand we are having a free trade agreement. Therefore, they will bring it in that route, and our manufacturing will be lying down. It will not come up. Therefore, we have to be very careful when we are going into the elite group. We are the old ancient people. From 1946 onwards, we are having this standard. We are developed in that way. The Indian Standard Institution is one of the primary institutions of Government of India, more specifically run by the Government of India. But at the same time, the system is very, very poor. The bureaucratic mannerism of disposing of the files, giving certification, recognizing the trademark, everything is slowed down. If such is the thing, even by legislating itself, we can claim that we have already done so much of legislation by this method. But at the same time, in practical terms, we may not be competitive with other countries. And we may not be in a position to stop the inflow of the Chinese unstandard, below standard materials flooding in the Indian market. For example, I can say that through the electronic e-commerce, many of the Alibaba company has now having a business more than, they are coming out with more than $50 billion business within a very short period, pumping all the materials which are in China, now coming into the Indian market, and the Indian market could not compete with that because the cost is very, very low. Therefore, the competition is coming up. When we are fixing up the standard, we should be very, very careful to see that the standards are followed properly, whatever may be the country, whatever may be the materials coming from in the way of import or free trade agreement and other routes by which they are coming inside India. Otherwise, our ambition of make in India may be a dream. It cannot happen. That we have realized within the past 2.5 years how our manufacturing units are closed. At the same time, materials which are not sold in other countries are now brought in as an import route, and they are imported here, and that market is occupying the field where there is a need for that. Because many of the people in our country is having the purchasing power, but they are not utilizing that money for manufacturing power, they are purchasing alone. And the middle class is having endowed with so much of money in their hand, they are ready to purchase any material, but the material is not manufactured in India, but it is manufactured in the foreign countries. When we are imposing a standard according to this legislation, then only we will be competitive, our country can come up to that level. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very